The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and glass that orbited the bright world below. Inside, representatives from 40 different species sat in their designated seats, and every single one of them looked afraid. Captain Ji-hoon Park stood at the back of the chamber, his human form drawing nervous glances from those nearby. He was used to it. Humans made people nervous these days. It had been that way for a long time now. Ambassador Hyejin Lee stepped forward to address the council. She was Viridian, her blue skin pale with stress, her forearms trembling slightly as she held up the datapad. "The death count has reached 4 billion across 7 systems," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "The void rot continues to spread. Nothing we do can stop it." The chamber fell silent. 4 billion dead. The number was too large to truly understand, but everyone tried anyway. High Chancellor Taeyang Kim, an elderly being with silver scales and wise eyes, leaned forward in his seat at the center of the chamber. "Tell us again what this plague does," he said quietly. Hyejin tapped her datapad. Images appeared in the air above the chamber floor, showing medical scans that made several council members look away. "It begins in the blood," she explained. "Then it spreads to every cell in the body. The victim feels nothing at first. No pain, no symptoms. By the time they show signs of illness, they have already infected dozens of others. Death comes within 3 days of the first symptom." "And there is no cure?" asked Councillor Mireille Choi, a young member who had only joined the council 2 years ago. "We have tried everything," Hyejin said, and her voice finally broke. "Every medical treatment we know, every technology we possess, nothing works. The plague adapts faster than we can fight it." Ji-hoon watched from his place at the back. He knew where this conversation was going. It went there every time the council faced something they could not solve. Someone would mention the records, someone would suggest the forbidden option, and then someone would explain why they could never, ever do that. Like clockwork, an old counselor from the Draven species raised his hand. "The archives mention a similar plague," he said slowly. 300 years ago, in the outer territories." The chamber went even quieter, if that was possible. "That plague was stopped," the Draven continued. "According to the records, it was stopped by—" "Don't," said Admiral Sun Woo Bei, standing up from his seat. He was human too, though much older than Ji-hoon, with gray hair and a face full of scars. "Don't say it." But the Draven counselor continued anyway. "By humanity," he finished. "The records say humans stopped a plague just like this one." Every eye in the chamber turned to look at Ji-hoon and the Admiral. Ji-hoon felt his jaw tighten. Here it came. The hope, then the fear, then the excuses about why they could never ask Earth for help. Mirai stood up, her young face full of desperate hope. "Then we should contact them," she said. "If humans know how to stop this, we need their help. We're dying out here." "No," said at least 5 counselors at once. High Chancellor Taeyang raised his hand for silence. "Counselor Mirai," he said gently, "you were not yet born when humanity left. You do not remember why we do not contact Earth." "I know the history," Mirai said, but she sounded less certain now. "Do you?" The Chancellor's eyes were sad. "Do you know what happened the last time someone sent a request to Earth?" The chamber waited. Mirai slowly sat back down. Hyejin spoke instead, her voice hollow. "The incident of 2701, she said. "Everyone knows about it. The plague that spread through the frontier worlds, humanity's response." "They killed billions," whispered a counselor from the back. "They destroyed 3 entire star systems," said another. "They said it was mercy," added a third. "They said it was the only way to stop the plague from spreading. But we called it genocide." Ji-hoon closed his eyes. They always got it wrong. Every time they told the story, they got it wrong. Admiral Sunwoo was the one who spoke next. "We left," he said simply. "After the council accused us of war crimes, after you told us we were monsters for what we did, we packed up and went home, back to Earth and our own colonies. That was 146 years ago." "And good riddance," muttered someone. The Admiral's face hardened, but he said nothing. Tai Yang stood up, his old body moving slowly. "There is a communication channel," he admitted. "A red emergency protocol that connects directly to Earth. It has existed since humanity joined the galactic community over 300 years ago. It has not been used since they left." "Then we should use it now," Mireille said, standing again. "We're desperate. Billions are dying!" "And what do you think will happen?" Tai Yang asked. "What do you think Earth will do when they receive our call? They left because we rejected them. They left because we called them murderers. Do you truly believe they will come to save us?" "I don't know," Mireille said. "But I know we're dying, and we have no other options." "There is another problem," said Hyejin quietly. "The humans who remained here after their people left, like Captain Ji-hoon and Admiral Sun-woo, they have told us repeatedly not to contact Earth." All eyes turned to Ji-hoon again. He sighed and stepped forward, moving into the center of the chamber where everyone could see him clearly. "You want to know why we tell you not to call Earth?" he asked. His voice echoed in the silent room. "It's not because they won't come. It's because they will." Confusion rippled through the council. "I don't understand," Mireille said. Ji-hoon looked at her, then at all of them. "You think humans left because they were weak," he said. "You think we ran away because we couldn't face your judgment, but that's not why we left." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "We left because you were afraid of us. You were afraid of what we could do, what we would do to protect innocent lives. You committed genocide," someone accused. "We saved 47 billion people," Ji-hoon shot back. "We evacuated every single uninfected person from those 3 systems. Then, and only then, did we sterilize the plague. We gave people a choice: trust us and live, or refuse and die. Most chose to trust us. The plague died with those empty worlds." The chamber erupted in noise. Arguments broke out. Some counselors shouted that Ji-hoon was lying. Others demanded proof. A few sat in stunned silence. Tai Yang called for order, and slowly the chamber quieted. "Even if what you say is true," the Chancellor said carefully, "even if humanity acted with honor back then, it does not change the present situation. If we call Earth, we show weakness. We show them that we need them. After everything that happened, after we drove them away, how can we ask for their help?" Ji-hoon met the old leader's eyes. "You can't," he said simply. "That's the problem. Your pride won't let you. You would rather die than admit you were wrong." The words hung in the air like a blade. Mirai spoke into the silence, her voice small but determined. "I would rather live," she said. "I would rather save my people. Even if it means admitting we need help. Even if it means admitting we were wrong." But the council was not ready to hear that. Not yet. The debate continued for hours, going in circles, while in the systems beyond the chamber, the plague continued to spread. And the red button that could call Earth remained untouched, gathering dust in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. 3 weeks passed, and the death count climbed to 12 billion. Dr. Somin Kang stood in the medical center on Viridian Prime, staring at the data on her screen. She had been staring at it for 6 hours straight, looking for something, anything that might help. Behind her, the ward was full of patients in the final stages of void rot. Their families stood by their beds, holding their hands, saying goodbye. Somin's own mother was in one of those beds. She heard footsteps behind her and turned to see Counselor Mireille walking through the ward. The young counselor looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. She probably hadn't. "Any progress?" Mireille asked quietly. Somin shook her head. I've tried every combination of treatments I can think of. Nothing slows it down. The plague is too smart. It adapts to everything we do. She turned back to her screen, not wanting Mireille to see the tears in her eyes. My mother has maybe 2 days left. Mireille put a hand on Somin's shoulder. They had known each other since childhood, had grown up on the same street, attended the same schools. I'm sorry, Mireille said. Sorry doesn't cure plagues, Somin replied, her voice harder than she intended. She took a breath. I'm sorry. I know you're trying. I know the council is doing everything they can. Are we, though? Mireille asked. When Somin looked at her in confusion, Mireille continued. Are we really doing everything? Or are we just doing everything except the one thing that might actually work? Somin understood immediately. You mean Earth. The council won't call them, Mireille said. I've tried arguing. I've presented evidence. I've begged. They won't do it. They're too proud, too scared, too angry about the past. She looked around the ward at all the dying people. So I've been thinking about doing it myself. Somin's eyes widened. That would be treason. They would remove you from the council. They might even imprison you. I know, Mireille said. But what does that matter if we're all dead anyway? Before Somin could respond, Ambassador Hyejin appeared in the doorway of the ward. She looked around carefully, then approached them. I overheard, she said quietly, and I want to help. Both Mireille and Somin stared at her in shock. Hyejin was a senior diplomat, someone with actual power and influence. If she was caught helping them contact Earth without authorization, the consequences would be even worse than what Mireille faced. Why? Mireille asked. Hyejin's face was grim. Because my daughter died yesterday, she said simply. Because this plague doesn't care about politics or pride. Because someone needs to be brave enough to press that button. That night, the three of them met at an old communications station at the edge of Viridian Prime's orbital ring. The station had been abandoned for decades, used only for storage now. Deep inside, past crates of old equipment and forgotten supplies, they found what they were looking for. The Earth Communications Array. Minho Yoon was already there waiting for them. The young technician had been maintaining the array for 5 years, a job nobody else wanted because it meant dealing with human technology. He looked nervous when he saw them approach. I got your message, he said to Mireille. You really want to do this? We have to, Mireille said. Minho nodded slowly and led them to the control panel. It was covered in dust, but when he powered it on, the lights came to life immediately. Everything still worked. I should tell you something, Minho said as he typed commands into the system. The array hasn't been used to send messages to Earth in 146 years, but it has been receiving them. Everyone turned to look at him. What do you mean, receiving them? Hyejin asked. Minho brought up a file on the screen, message after message, dating back years and years, all from Earth. They've been checking in, he explained. Automated messages mostly, status updates, offers of assistance, just checking if anyone needs help. Somin read through some of the messages, her throat tight. They were simple, almost casual. This is Earth Station calling. Hope everyone is doing well. Let us know if you need anything. Another one from 5 years ago. Still here, still listening. Call if you need us. They never stopped caring, Mireille whispered. The council never told anyone, Hyejin said, anger in her voice. They've been receiving these messages and hiding them. Minho pulled up the current protocol. The red emergency channel is still active. If you press this button, it sends a priority distress call directly to Earth's response center. They'll receive it within seconds. He looked at each of them. But once you press it, there's no taking it back. Earth will know we called. Everyone will know. Mireille stepped up to the console. Her hand reached out toward the button, then stopped. She could see it glowing softly in the dim light, waiting. One press. That's all it would take. But could she really do this? Could she really go against the entire council, against centuries of policy, against the direct orders of the High Chancellor? She thought of all the people dying in the wards. She thought of Soman's mother. She thought of Hyejin's daughter. She thought of the 12 billion already dead and the billions more who would die if nothing changed. Her hand was shaking. "I can't," she whispered. "If I do this, my career is over. My life is over. They'll never forgive me." "Then let me," said Soman, stepping forward, but Mirai blocked her. "No. If anyone's going to take the blame, it should be me. I'm the counselor. I'm the one with the responsibility." "We all have responsibility," Hyejin said. She moved to stand beside Mirai. "And we all should share it." She placed her hand over Mirai's, both of them now touching the button. Soman joined them, adding her hand. "Together, then." Minho hesitated, then he added his hand, too. "I'm already complicit just by being here. Might as well go all the way." They stood there, 4 people in a forgotten station, their hands on a button that would change everything. "On 3?" Mirai asked. "On 3," the others agreed. 1. Mirai thought about her mother, teaching her to always do the right thing, even when it was hard. 2. Soman thought about all the patients she couldn't save, all the families she had to comfort. 3. They pressed the button together. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the button glowed green. The screen above it came to life, showing a connection being established. The green light turned red. Then it began pulsing, red and white, red and white. Words appeared on the screen. "Request received." They all held their breath. "Analyzing transmission." More waiting. "Preparing response." The screen showed a map of space, with Earth marked at one end and Viridian Prime at the other. A timer appeared. "ETA, 72 hours. 72 hours, 3 days. Earth would respond in 3 days." The 4 of them stood in silence, staring at the screen. What had they done? What would happen now? "We should go," Hyejin finally said. "If we're all found here together, it will be obvious what we've done." They agreed and began to leave the station. But as they reached the door, Minho called out, "Wait, there's more." They turned back. He had pulled up another screen, this one showing sensor readings from the edge of the galaxy. "What is that?" Mirai asked. "I don't know," Minho said, zooming in. "But those readings just appeared, right after we sent the signal." The screen showed massive energy signatures, dozens of them, all moving toward Galactic Center, moving toward them. "Ships," Hyejin breathed. "Those are ships." "They said 72 hours, Soman said, confused. "How are there already ships?" Minho ran calculations, his fingers flying across the keyboard. When he saw the results, his face went pale. "According to these readings, these ships have been traveling for weeks, maybe months." He looked up at them. "Earth didn't wait for our signal to send help. They were already coming." The implications hit them all at once. "They knew," Mirai said. "Somehow they knew we would need them." "Or they've just been waiting," Hyejin said quietly. "Waiting for us to finally ask." The screen continued to track the approaching fleet. There were hundreds of signatures now, maybe thousands, all heading toward Council space. And somewhere on Earth, someone had received their call and was preparing to answer. In the medical ward where they had stood earlier, Soman's mother lay in her bed, barely conscious. The void rot had reached its final stage. The doctor said she had less than a day. But now maybe there was hope. Hope in the form of a fleet traveling across the galaxy. Hope in the form of a species that had been waiting 146 years to hear a single word. Please. The council found out within 6 hours. High Chancellor Tai Yang stood in the council chamber, his face darker than anyone had ever seen it. Behind him, Screens showed the approaching fleet from Earth. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands, all moving toward Council space at impossible speeds. "Who did this?" he demanded. The chamber was full, every counselor present, along with military officers and diplomats. Everyone looked scared, not just scared of the Chancellor's anger, but scared of what was coming. Counselor Mireille stepped forward. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to walk steadily. "I did," she said clearly. Gasps filled the chamber. "You?" Taeyang's voice was cold. "You sent an unauthorized distress call to Earth?" "Yes, Chancellor. Do you understand what you have done? You have violated 100 years of policy. You have ignored the direct decision of this council. You have committed treason." "I know," Mireille said. Her voice shook, but she continued. "I know what I did, and I would do it again. We are dying. Billions are dead. More die every day. I did what needed to be done." "You had no right," shouted Admiral Sunwoo Bay, standing from his seat. But this time, the human admiral wasn't defending Earth. He was angry at Mireille. "You have no idea what you've unleashed." "Then tell me," Mireille challenged. "Tell everyone. What exactly is coming?" Before the admiral could answer, Professor Daehyunho stood up. The old historian rarely spoke in council meetings, preferring his books and archives to politics. But now he held up a datapad. "I can answer that," he said. "I have spent the last 3 weeks researching the incident of 2701, the real story, not the version we tell ourselves." Taeyang looked like he wanted to stop the professor from speaking, but he didn't. Maybe he was too tired. Maybe he knew the truth needed to come out. Professor Daehyun activated his datapad, and holographic images appeared above the chamber floor. Medical reports, evacuation records, communications logs. In 2701, a plague spread through 3 star systems in the frontier, he began. 47 billion people lived in those systems. The plague was similar to our current void rot, fast, deadly, and unstoppable by conventional means. The chamber watched the images shift, showing the spread of the ancient plague. Humanity offered to help. They had dealt with similar biological weapons before. They proposed a solution. Evacuate all uninfected people, then sterilize the plague by destroying the infected worlds. "Genocide," someone muttered. "No," Professor Daehyun said firmly. "Not genocide. Listen to what actually happened." He brought up new records. Over the course of 3 weeks, human ships evacuated 44 billion people. They moved entire populations to safe zones. They built temporary habitats. They fed and sheltered refugees by the billions. The images showed massive human ships, larger than anything the Council had ever built, carrying millions of people to safety. The evacuation had a 93% success rate, the professor continued. 3 billion people could not be saved. Either they were too infected, too far from evacuation points, or they refused to leave. New images appeared. Empty planets, cities abandoned. And then, briefly, the flash of sterilization weapons. Only then, when every possible life had been saved, did humanity destroy those worlds. They eliminated the plague completely. Not a single infected cell survived. Silence filled the chamber. "So why did we call it genocide?" asked a young counselor. Professor Daehyun's expression was sad. "Because we were afraid. Because humanity did in 3 weeks what we couldn't do at all. Because they made the hard choice, and we couldn't accept that such a choice was necessary." He paused. "So we held a trial. We accused them of war crimes. And when they refused to apologize for saving 44 billion lives, we called them monsters." "And they left," Mireille said quietly. "They left," the professor agreed. "Not because they were guilty, not because they were ashamed. They left because we made it clear they were not welcome." Captain Ji-hoon had been standing at the back of the chamber, silent until now. He walked forward and people moved out of his way. "I was there," he said. "I was part of the evacuation fleet. I saw human doctors working for 72 hours straight without sleep, trying to save as many people as possible. I saw military officers crying when they had to leave people behind. I saw Admiral Ji-Young Song, the fleet commander, personally carry a sick child onto an evacuation ship, even though it meant risking infection herself." His voice grew harder. "And then I watched as the council put us on trial, as you called us murderers, as you demanded we submit to your judgment for the crime of saving lives." He looked around at all of them. "So yes, we left. We went home. And we swore we would never come back unless you asked." "Until now," Taeyang said. "Until now," Ji-Hoon agreed. The screens behind the Chancellor updated. The Earth fleet was closer now, moving faster than should have been possible. New data came through, analyzed by Council sensors. Commander Isul Han, captain of the Council's flagship, stood to give her report. "Chancellor, we have analyzed the approaching fleet. The readings are concerning." "Explain," Taeyang ordered. "The fleet consists of approximately 800 ships," Isul said. 300 of them are hospital ships, medical vessels larger than our biggest stations. 500 are military escorts." She paused. "The technology readings suggest these ships are at least 200 years more advanced than anything we have." Murmurs spread through the chamber. 200 years? Someone asked. "How is that possible?" "Humanity has been alone for 146 years, Professor Daehyun said, isolated in their own space. It appears they spent that time advancing, building, preparing." "Preparing for what?" Taeyang asked. "For this," Ji-Hoon said simply, "for the day someone would need them again." The chamber fell silent again. On the screens, the fleet continued its approach. 72 hours had become 60 hours, then 50. "We need to mobilize our defenses," said Admiral Sun-woo. "We cannot let them enter Council space without—" "Without what?" Mireille interrupted. "Without a fight? Admiral? They are coming to help us. They are coming because I asked them to." "You don't know that," Sun-woo shot back. "You don't know what they want. What if they come for revenge? What if they remember how we treated them?" "Then we deserve whatever they do," said Ambassador Hyojin, standing beside Mirai. "I was part of sending the signal too, Admiral. So was Dr. Soman Kang, who is currently watching her mother die from void rot. So was Technician Min Ho-yoon. We are all guilty. We all chose to call Earth, and we would do it again." Before anyone could respond, every screen in the chamber flickered. The Council's communication systems activated on their own, overriding all controls. A face appeared on every screen, a human woman in a military uniform, her hair gray, her eyes sharp and commanding. Scars crossed her face, but she wore them with pride. "This is Fleet Admiral Ji-Young Song of the Earth Expeditionary Medical Force," she said. Her voice was calm and steady, filling the chamber. "We have received your distress call. We are currently 3 light-years from Viridian Prime and will arrive in 48 hours. The entire chamber stared at the screens in shock. "We know you did not officially authorize this communication," Admiral Song continued. "We know some of you don't want us here. That's fine. We're not coming because you want us. We're coming because people are dying and we can help." She leaned forward, her eyes seeming to look at each person individually. 146 years ago, you told us we were not welcome in your space. You called us monsters. You put us on trial for the crime of choosing who lived and who died. So we left." Her expression softened slightly. "But we never stopped watching. We never stopped listening. And we never stopped hoping that one day when you needed us, you would finally ask." Taeyang found his voice. "And if we refuse your help now?" Admiral Song smiled, and it was not a cruel smile. "Then we turn around and go home," she said. "We will not force ourselves on you, But Chancellor, people are dying. Billions of them. Your pride killed them once before. Don't let it kill them again. The transmission cut off, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Mireille looked at the High Chancellor, at all the assembled counselors, at the military officers and diplomats. "We have 48 hours to decide," she said. "Do we let them help, or do we choose pride over survival?" The debate began immediately, but something had changed. The truth was out now, the real story of 2701, the knowledge that humanity had been waiting, watching, hoping, and somewhere in the darkness of space, 800 ships continued their journey, carrying doctors and medicine and hope. The clock counted down. 48 hours, 47, 46. And in the medical wards across council space, people continued to die, unaware that their salvation was approaching at faster-than-light speeds. The human fleet arrived exactly on schedule. Commander Isul Han stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the sensors as 800 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Viridian Prime's system. She had been ordered to intercept them, to determine their intentions before they entered council space proper. But as the ships appeared on her screens, she felt her breath catch in her throat. They were beautiful. The human vessels gleamed white and silver, their hulls marked with medical symbols and Earth's ancient blue and green flag. The hospital ships were massive, each one larger than Isol's entire battle group. The military escorts moved around them like protective birds, sleek and deadly and graceful. "Open a channel," she ordered her communications officer. A moment later, Admiral Ji-Young Song's face appeared on the main screen. The human admiral looked tired but alert, as if she had not slept during the entire journey. "Commander Isul Han," Admiral Song said, and Isul was surprised the human knew her name. "Permission to enter Viridian Prime system." Isul glanced at her orders. The council had debated for the entire 48 hours. In the end, they had not reached a consensus. Some wanted to accept Earth's help. Others wanted to turn them away. Chancellor Taeyang had finally made the decision himself. Allow them to enter, but monitor them closely. "Permission granted," Isul said, "but understand that Council Defense Forces will be watching. Any hostile action will be met with force." Admiral Song actually smiled at that. "Commander, if we wanted to be hostile, you would already be space dust. We're here to help, that's all." It should have sounded arrogant, but somehow it didn't. It sounded like simple fact. The human fleet moved into the system, and Isol's ship moved alongside them. As they traveled toward Viridian Prime, she watched the hospital ships more closely. They were bustling with activity. She could see thousands of people moving through the corridors visible in the scans. Medical personnel, technicians, researchers, all preparing for something massive. "Admiral Song," Isul said, "what exactly are you planning?" "We're planning to save your people," Song replied. "We brought medical teams, research equipment, and enough supplies to treat every infected person in council space. But first, we need to understand this plague better." She gestured off-screen. "Dr. Kyung-Min Shin, our chief medical researcher, wants to coordinate with your doctors. Is that possible?" Before Isul could answer, her communications officer spoke up. "Commander, we're receiving a direct request from Viridian Prime. Dr. So-Min Kang is asking to be transported to the human flagship immediately." Isul made the decision quickly. "Grant it, and arrange for me to visit their flagship as well. If we're going to trust them, I need to see what they're doing." An hour later, Isul and So-Min materialized in the transport bay of the human flagship. The ship was called the Mercy, which Isul found almost painfully appropriate. Dr. Kyung-Min Shin met them at the bay entrance. He was younger than Isul expected, maybe 40 years old, with kind eyes and quick movements. "Dr. Kang, Commander Han, welcome. Follow me, please. We have much to discuss." He led them through corridors that were clean and bright and full of activity. Humans hurried past, carrying medical equipment, data pads, sample containers. Everyone seemed to know exactly what they were doing. They entered a large medical laboratory where dozens of researchers worked at various stations. In the center of the room, Somin stopped and gasped. There, on examination tables, were samples of void rot, living samples contained in special fields. "How did you get those?" she asked. "We pulled them from your medical databases," Shin explained. "We've been analyzing them since we received your distress call. We've made some progress, but we need your expertise. You've been studying this plague for weeks. We've only had days." Another human approached, a woman with sharp eyes and a serious expression. "This is Specialist Nari Lim," Shin introduced. "She's our expert on biological weapons." "Biological weapons?" Isol asked. "You think this is a weapon?" Nari pulled up a holographic display showing the structure of the void rot. "This is not a natural plague," she said bluntly. "It's too efficient, too adaptable. Someone designed it." Somin moved closer to the display, her medical knowledge taking over her shock. "We suspected, but couldn't prove it. The adaptation rate is too high for natural evolution." "It's not just adapted," Nari said. "It's programmed. Look here." She highlighted sections of the plague's genetic code. "These sequences aren't random. They're instructions. The plague adapts because it's designed to adapt." "Who would create something like this?" Isol asked. "Someone who wanted to kill as efficiently as possible," Nari said grimly. "We've seen weapons like this before. Not exactly the same, but similar." "When?" Somin asked. Nari and Shin exchanged glances. Shin spoke carefully. "About 100 years ago in our territory, we had an outbreak of a biological weapon released by accident from an ancient ruin. It killed 3 billion people before we stopped it." "How did you stop it?" Isol asked. "We found the off switch," Nari said. She zoomed in on another section of the code. "Weapons like this have fail-safes. The creators needed a way to stop them if they got out of control. We just had to find it." "And have you found it?" Somin's voice was desperate. "In the void rot?" "We think so," Shin said, "but we need to test it. We need living patients." He looked at Somin. "Your mother is in the final stages, correct?" Somin's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "Will you allow us to try an experimental treatment on her?" Shin asked gently. "I won't lie to you, the chances are maybe 50%, but without treatment, she has no chance at all." "Do it," Somin said without hesitation. "Try anything. Please." Within hours, Dr. Somin's mother was transported to the Mercy's medical bay. Somin watched through a window as Nari and a team of human doctors worked on her. They injected something directly into her bloodstream, then monitored her vital signs carefully. Isol stood beside Somin, offering silent support. She had reported everything to the council, and now more patients were being transferred to human ships for treatment. The council was still divided, still arguing, but the people were making their own choice. They wanted to live. "Why did you come?" Isol asked Shin, who had joined them at the window. He looked at her confused. "You called. Someone finally asked for help. But after everything that happened, after we rejected you, called you monsters, drove you away, why would you still come?" Shin was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because that's what humans do. We hold grudges. I won't lie about that. A lot of people on Earth are still angry about 2701. But when someone is dying, when someone needs help, we can't ignore it." He smiled sadly. "It's probably a weakness, honestly. We should be able to walk away from people who hurt us, but we can't. We always answer the call." Admiral Ji-Young's song arrived at the medical bay, her presence commanding immediate attention. She looked at the patient through the window, then at Somin. "Your mother is strong," she said. "She'll survive." "How do you know?" Somin asked. "Because we won't let her die," Song said simply. "We came too far, waited too long, to fail now." The monitor beside the window suddenly began showing changes. Soman's mother's vital signs were improving, slowly at first, then faster. The void rot markers in her blood were dropping. "It's working," Nari said through the communication system. "The treatment is working." Soman started crying, pressing her hands against the window. Isol put an arm around her shoulders. Admiral Song watched the monitors with satisfaction. "Commander Isol," she said, "we need to deploy this treatment to every infected person in Council space. All 80 star systems, simultaneously." "Simultaneously?" Isol was shocked. "That's billions of people spread across light years. It would take months to coordinate." "We have 3 days," Song interrupted. "After that, too many people will have reached terminal stages. We need to do this fast and all at once. If we don't, the plague will adapt to our treatment." "That's impossible," Isul said. "No," Song replied. "It's just difficult. We've done impossible. Difficult we can manage." She pulled up a tactical display showing all 80 infected systems. "We split our fleet. Each hospital ship takes a system. The military escorts protect them and help coordinate. We have enough medical personnel to treat everyone if we move quickly." Isul looked at the display, doing mental calculations. "You would be spreading your fleet across the entire Council territory, leaving yourselves vulnerable. If we wanted to attack you, destroy you, we could." "I know," Song said calmly. "That's the point. We're trusting you, again. Even after last time." She met Isul's eyes. "Someone has to break the cycle. Someone has to choose trust over fear. Might as well be us." Soman pulled away from the window, wiping her tears. "What do you need from us?" "Cooperation," Shin said. "Your medical personnel working with ours. Your government's giving us access to the infected zones. Your military protecting our ships while we work." He smiled. "Basically, we need you to let us help you." "I'll talk to the Council," Isul said. She looked at Admiral Song with new respect. "I think they'll listen now." In the medical bay, Somin's mother opened her eyes. She looked around in confusion, then saw her daughter through the window. Somin waved, crying and laughing at the same time. The first patient saved, billions more to go, but now, finally, there was real hope. The operation was called Broken Chain. Captain Jehoon stood in the council chamber, now converted into a coordination center. Holographic displays showed all 80 infected star systems, each one assigned to a human hospital ship and its support vessels. Council military forces were positioned to assist, no longer as suspicious guards but as allies. High Chancellor Taeyang sat in his seat, looking older than ever, but also somehow lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He had made the final decision 6 hours ago. Full cooperation with Earth's forces. The vote had been close, but it passed. "All ships report ready," announced Commander Isol from her position at the tactical station. She had become the primary liaison between Council forces and the human fleet. Admiral Ji-Young-song stood at the center of the chamber, calm and focused. "Medical team's status report. Across 80 star systems," human doctors responded. "Ready, prepared, waiting for the signal." "The timing has to be perfect," explained Dr. Kyung-Min Shin, standing beside a display that showed the plague's behavior patterns. "The void rot communicates across infected hosts. It's subtle, almost like a network. If we start treating people system by system, the plague will sense what we're doing and adapt before we can finish." "So we hit it everywhere at once," Ji-Hoon said. "Exactly," Shin confirmed. "We break the chain of adaptation. Every infected person gets treated within the same 6-hour window. The plague won't have time to respond." Counselor Mirai, who had been officially pardoned for her unauthorized communication with Earth, spoke up. "How many people are we treating?" "Current count is 17,300,000,000, replied Specialist Nari Lim. "Across 80 systems, 240 planets, and 1,147 space stations." The numbers were staggering. Everyone in the chamber went quiet. "Can you really do this?" asked Ambassador Hyejin. "Treat 17 billion people in 6 hours?" Admiral Song smiled. "Dr. Hyejin, we've spent 146 years preparing for the day you'd need us. We didn't spend that time sitting idle." She gestured to the displays. "Every human ship out there has enough medical personnel and supplies to treat an entire planet. We've run this simulation 1,000 times. We know we can do it. The question is whether you trust us enough to let us try." Taiyang stood up slowly. "I trust you," he said, his voice carrying across the chamber. "I trust you because you came when we called, because you saved Dr. Soman's mother and proved your treatment works, because you're willing to risk everything to help people who once called you monsters." He paused. "I'm sorry. On behalf of the entire council, I am sorry for what we did 146 years ago." Admiral Song was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "Apology accepted, Chancellor. Now let's save your people." She turned to the communications station. "All ships, this is Song. Begin Operation Broken Chain on my mark." She looked around the chamber one last time, at all the council members who had fought against her people for so long, now united in hope. Mark. Across 80 star systems, the human medical fleet went to work. Dr. Soman stood in a hospital on Viridian Prime, watching as human medical teams moved through the wards with perfect efficiency. Each patient received an injection, a scan, and constant monitoring. The humans worked with the local doctors, teaching them the treatment protocol, sharing everything they knew. Soman's mother had been released that morning, completely cured. Now Soman was helping treat others, using the knowledge the humans had given her freely. A young human nurse named Yoonji worked beside her. "How are you holding up?" Yoonji asked. "I'm okay," Soman said. "Just amazed. You're all so calm, so prepared. It's like you do this every day." Yoonji smiled. "We practice. A lot. On Earth, every medical student learns disaster response. Every doctor trains for large-scale emergencies because we remember what happened before. We remember what it felt like to watch people die and be called monsters for trying to save them." She administered another injection to a patient. "We promised ourselves we would be ready if we ever got another chance." "You've been waiting for us," Somin said quietly. "We've been hoping for you," Yoonji corrected. "There's a difference." In the council chamber, the displays updated continuously. Green markers appeared as patients were treated successfully. System by system, planet by planet, the green spread across the map. "Treatment success rate is holding at 94%, reported Dr. Shin, within expected parameters. 6% failure? Asked Mireille, concerned. "Patients too far into terminal stages," Shin explained sadly. "Even our treatment has limits. If the plague has already caused too much damage, we can't reverse it." He looked at the displays. "But we're saving 94 out of every 100. That's 17 billion lives." Hour by hour, the operation continued. Human ships moved from planet to planet, station to station, treating everyone they could reach. Council military vessels helped with logistics, transported supplies, evacuated critical patients to the hospital ships. Ji-hoon found himself working alongside Admiral Sunwoo, coordinating the military side of the operation. The older admiral had been quiet since the humans arrived, clearly conflicted. "You were right," Sunwoo finally said, "about everything. I've been angry at Earth for so long, I forgot why we left in the first place." "We left because we had to," Ji-hoon replied. "But we always knew we'd come back if they needed us. That's who we are." "I thought I understood that," Sunwoo said. "But watching this operation, seeing how prepared they are, how much they care, I realize I didn't understand at all. Earth didn't just wait for us. They got ready to save us. 6 hours became 5, then 4, then 3. The green markers spread across every system. Medical teams reported success after success. The plague was dying, overwhelmed by the simultaneous treatment of billions of hosts. In one of the hospital ships, Nari monitored the plague's behavior through her sensors. "It's trying to adapt," she said. "I can see it attempting to modify its structure, but it's too late. There's nowhere for it to hide, no infected hosts it can use to test new variations. We broke its chain." Dr. Shin stood beside her, exhausted but elated. "How long until we can confirm total eradication?" "Another 2 hours at current rates," Nari replied. "Then we'll need to monitor for a few weeks to be sure. But I think we did it. I think we actually did it." In the final hour of the operation, High Chancellor Taeyang made an announcement across all council channels. Every screen in every system showed his face. "People of the council," he said, "today we were saved. Not by our own strength, not by our own wisdom, but by the kindness of those we once rejected." He paused, emotion clear in his voice. "Humanity came when we called. They asked for nothing in return. They risked everything to help us, and they succeeded." The displays in the council chamber showed the final numbers. 16,200,000,000 people treated successfully. 1,100,000,000 lost to terminal stages or unreachable locations. But so many saved, so many lives preserved. Admiral Song received the final reports from all 80 systems. Every hospital ship confirmed, treatment complete. No more infected hosts. The void rot was extinct. She turned to face the council chamber, where everyone had been working for 6 hours straight without rest. "It's done," she said simply. The chamber erupted in cheers. Councilors hugged each other. Military officers shook hands. Humans and council members celebrated together. Soman found Mirai in the crowd, and they embraced, both crying. "You saved us," Soman said. "You pressed that button and saved us all." "We all pressed it," Mirai replied, and Earth answered. Later, after the celebrations had quieted, Admiral Song stood with Chancellor Taeyang in a private room overlooking Viridian Prime. The planet below was celebrating, lights and fireworks visible from orbit. "What happens now?" Taeyang asked. "Will you stay? Rejoin the council?" Song shook her head gently. "No, Chancellor. We learned to stand on our own. We built our own civilization, our own way of life. We don't need the council anymore." "But we need you," Taeyang said. "No," Song corrected. "You needed us, and we came. That's how it should work. We're not your members, not your subjects. We're your neighbors, and neighbors help each other when asked." She turned to face him fully. "But now you know, if you ever need us again, just call. We'll always answer." 3 months later, the human fleet prepared to depart. Every ship had been resupplied by grateful council worlds. Every crew member had been honored. Joint research agreements had been established. Communication channels were open and active. Soman stood on the observation deck of Viridian Prime's main station, watching the ships prepare to leave. Beside her stood Jihoon, who had decided to return to Earth after 146 years away. "Will you come back?" Soman asked. "Maybe," Jihoon said. "But Earth is my home. I've been away too long." "Tell them thank you," Soman said. "Tell everyone on Earth that we're grateful, that we're sorry, that we'll never forget what they did." "I will," Jihoon promised. The human fleet began to move, ships lighting up their faster-than-light drives. But before they jumped, Admiral Song sent one final message to the council. It appeared on every screen, in every language. "We heard your call, we answered, and we'll always be listening." The ships vanished in flashes of light, returning to their distant homes. But on Viridian Prime, in the old communications station where 4 brave people had pressed a forbidden button, something changed. The red emergency channel that had gone unused for 146 years was redesigned. Now it glowed a steady green. Open, available, ready. And beside it, a new plaque was installed. "Here." Someone dared to press the button. "Here," humanity answered. "Here we learned that the bravest thing is asking for help, and the noblest thing is giving it." Minho, still maintaining the station, made sure the channel was always active. Messages flowed both ways now. Earth checking in, council updates, simple conversations between worlds that had been separate for too long. 10 years later, when another crisis emerged in a different part of the galaxy, the council didn't hesitate. They pressed the button immediately, and 800 ships appeared within days, ready to help again. Because that's what humans do. They answer the call, every single time. And the galaxy finally understood what Earth had known all along. The greatest strength isn't the ability to stand alone, it's the willingness to help others stand beside you.